What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Dope or Nope sad episode. All right, so it doesn't have to be a sad episode. Really, what this is all about is me personally saying I'm sorry. I totally did this wrong. I totally did this entire transition of Dope or Nope just completely wrong, and I just wanted to say sorry for that. I got the guys here. I got Pat here. I got Tanner here. I got a big long spiel that I wanted to kind of like just communicate to you guys, the audience, and Tanner, Pat, you guys feel free to chime in at any point where you want to add in things, you want to correct me, you want to convict me.
It's my favorite part.
Easily.
But yeah, so basically what I wanted to say was I really should have brought you guys, the audience, in on this process. I realized about a week ago that I made a pretty big mistake with how I handled things, and I don't know, I just wanted to apologize for it. I realized that in my personal relationships, if I just went around and just pulled a rug out from under people, I should expect them to be upset, frustrated, scared, annoyed, and that's pretty much what I did to you guys. I pretty much pulled a rug out, and then I was surprised when everyone was like frustrated or upset or didn't want to go in that particular direction. And I understand that now. I see that now. I didn't see that before, but I kind of wanted to explain to you like what happened so I can give you guys better insight into how we got there and just a better explanation of where we've been this past year with COVID and why we're here now. So back, even before COVID. Here we go.
Let's just go through the whole journey. Let's do it.
Let's go through the whole journey. I think it's all relevant, and this is why I'm bringing it up. Because back before COVID started, we already had started to transition Michael out of the channel because he really wanted to move to the Rose channel. That was something that he was really wanting. That was something he was pushing for. And Tanner and I were concerned, but we also are not a studio in which we want to stop people from achieving what they want to achieve, right? Obviously, there are other factors at play, but I think we were definitely concerned about what that might mean. And then COVID hit, and it hit hard. As I remember, Tanner, we were just like, okay, what on earth are we gonna do? How are we gonna sustain the business? Dope or Nope had always been at the time the one channel that was sustaining everyone's jobs for the most part, almost everyone's jobs. And I think we had this tremendous amount of responsibilities on our shoulders to like get it right, and even through this entire time. And I remember, Tanner, you were coming over to my place and we were like, let's still record, right? Mm-hmm. Let's still get this done. Let's still figure this out. And we were concerned from the get-go, especially of Michael transitioning out. Like, here's the thing, we didn't really know what to do. At that time, we were deeply concerned with all of these changes, how it would affect the content, how it would affect the audience, how it would affect our livelihoods, the livelihoods of everyone at the studio. There was a lot riding on it. And I think like we really did our best with what we had, and Tanner and I started making videos from home to keep everything afloat. And not that there wasn't a lot of work by a lot of other amazing individuals, you know, off camera, there was, but it kind of was hinging on us continuing to make content because that's what we do. That's how we pay the bills. And things then really took a turn for the worst, right? COVID really hit hard, and we had to stop even in contact with each other, Tanner and I. And so then we started trying to do online content, and you know, where we did like 3 or 4 videos before those inevitably absolutely bombed. Yeah. What's interesting, Tanner, is I looked back on those videos today, and they actually have a decent amount of views. But if you recall, and I recall, like, do you remember those?
They bombed at the time.
They bombed. They absolutely bombed.
And that's like I think that's like the clarifying point to where a lot of our changes even happen from is like, we were, before COVID, we were like, I think we were doing really well, you know, and then COVID hit. And that's what's tricky from our perspective compared to like you guys, the audience's perspective, is we're always trying to bring you guys the best content as best as we can, and something that we enjoy too. So it looks like, yeah, like if you look at it from the outside perspective, you go back towards those videos, like, why did you guys just not film at home? Why didn't you guys just do that? Because those have views. But back then, those were getting legit like 70% of the views, which tells us the audience doesn't like it. Like, our subscriber base doesn't enjoy this content, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point to note, because a lot of times people will only look at the comments and they'll be like, all the comments were positive, and they were. Mm-hmm. But the issue with it is the real data to let you know whether or not you're making content that your audience likes is whether or not they click in and not the comments. comments. The comments are good and we love the comments, but if half your audience doesn't click in, your audience isn't engaged with the content that you're making. And so we had to stop, and we stopped making content for a while, for like a month, before we were like, okay, we have to do something or people are going to lose their jobs. And and that was, that's always been such a big concern of mine, obviously leading this company. And, on this project, I know Tanner, that's been a ton of weight on Tanner's shoulder too. On Tanner's shoulder, just one of your shoulders.
Just one of them. Yeah, just one.
Because I know we've talked about that a lot, and I know we've tried to like diversify in 1,000 different ways, but Dope or Nope has always been this monolithic thing that's supporting the company. And that's not bad. It's just where we are, Yeah. And so we decided to wait to make content, and then wait until we couldn't really wait anymore. And we had to brave ourselves back into the studio. It took us a bit to figure out how to make content in a way that, that worked, that the audience wanted. But I personally don't think like I ever checked in with myself to be like, is this something that I want to make? Is this something that I care about? And for me personally, and Tanner, and you can tell me what you went through here, but for me personally, it was like, it wasn't until like a month or two ago that I started checking in to be like, wait a second, now that the fear is like dissipating from this like toxic fear throughout the world because of this pandemic, I was like, wait a second, do I want to do this?
Yeah, I think it's tricky, and I think it's part to where High Five has always been. And I mean, we're changing it a lot now, but High Five's been really bad at communicating the bad, I would say. We just never really have. We've always just been like, yo, this is a positive space, positive stuff, positive things. But in reality, I think, it was just, that was probably that was the most difficult time of High Five for sure, without a doubt. And I think we didn't communicate the amount of fear towards it, I think, right? Like when you're running a business, right? We have 30 plus employees, especially at the time we had more, I think. We have a ton of employees. This is the main thing that's like keeping people afloat, like you said. And you're creating shifts from, okay, what is inspiring us? What do we want to do? To how do we keep this afloat? And I don't think we left that. And I think that's kind of like the biggest change that happened from beginning of this year to like, even up to like recently, is until we tried making a change with Sugar Over. But it was, we were stuck in this continual cycle of how do we stay afloat? How do we get back? Instead of it being what is inspiring us, like we've done in the past, So that has a huge effect on the people who are creating it too, right? Like they see the brand, they see the videos, like, oh, why don't they do this? Or like, why are they doing this now? Like there's a lot of people asking those questions. But I think what it really comes down to is the content is a reflection of us. So we were like embedded with fear, legit, for like,
I think, months. The entire world was.
Yeah, right? I just think we tried to mask that. We tried to be like, hey, look at us, we're doing it. You know what I'm saying? And
well, I wouldn't say I intentionally tried to mask it. I would say I wasn't aware of it. And I think that's one of the things of like, even like listening to what you're saying, Tanner, is like, I do agree that I haven't done a great job of communicating like the depth of emotions at High Five. And I think it's largely sometimes due to the fact that like, we don't know until it's afterwards. Self-awareness is kind of like this weird kind of like trailing thing where it's just like, oh, that's what I was, and not like necessarily during the experience of all the fear and emotions. But Pat, I know when we canceled BU too, because that was a great example of like what was happening at the time of like canceling BU, because that wasn't going to be making money, that for sure couldn't support that team. And so we were trying to figure out how to diversify and not lose everyone. And then you coming on to Dope or Nope. Yeah, what was that like for you?
It's tough because you go back and forth between, this is a fun job. This isn't like, for a lot of people, this looks like an easy job. It's an easy, fun job, probably the best job you could ever have. And there are times where it is like that, with BU, where it was like, I just get to go to the studio and have fun. But with Dope or Nope, it's such a different monster because like you said, at the time, it was supporting everyone, know, and that comes with an extra level of stress. And that's the one thing that people a lot of times don't see is like, hey, you guys, the guys who are watching right now, like you guys are obviously some of our biggest fans and you'll watch anything we do, but that's just not the nature of the entire platform. Like we just can't just only support a 30, employee company on 100,000 views of the 100,000 people who are, will watch anything we do, so it comes with the level of stress and you play in your head, like I'm trying to support, all my friends here because I don't want all my friends losing jobs. I'm trying to make sure that everyone is good here, but then you're also trying to make sure that you're not going, crazy stressful stressful or not enjoying your job at all. And that's where Dope or Nope just is a whole different monster, man. It's nuts.
And so I think to touch on that too is I think that's like a slippery slope is like, I don't want to create that expectation that like we want this group of people that'll watch anything. Like if we start making bad content, stop watching. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Which
is what happened.
I don't suffer through stuff either, right? So I think it's important to recognize like, oh, this group of people, this dire group of people will watch anything. Like that only lasts for so long. So like it's our job to provide value. So I think like that's the other slope too, is it's like we can't just make anything. Like we also want to make things that do engage you and don't just like numb you to like what's going on. Like and that's the thing I think to touch with what Pat's been saying. That's what we've been trying to balance and trying to actually make work. And that's where I think, you know, Matt will go into where we're just not kind of figuring that out.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think if I could touch on some things too that you guys said, because I know sometimes less aware audience members might assert that like, well, why don't you just pare down and then just make YouTube videos like everyone else on the platform? Like, because that's not what we want to do. Like our whole goal is to just like have a fostering community of creators, you know what I mean? And like that's the vision, that's part of the goal, is not to do things alone. And yeah, we have a lot of overhead, but that's the goal. The goal is to like have a ton of people to make better things together. But then the other piece is, you know, while we do talk about money and while we do talk about views, at the end of the day, that only tells us whether or not we're actually achieving our vision of creating content and creating a community that cares about what we're creating and we care about what we're creating. That's an indicator. It's not the reason. We have to look at it because we have to make sure that we're providing that value, like Tanner said, to the audience and to my employees and even to the creative inside me. Like we have to be providing all of that value. And one of the ways we do that is by supporting Jaws, by supporting individuals, but also by looking at those factors like views and revenue to be able to continue that. But it's definitely not the goal. It's definitely not the reason why we're there making videos. If that was the reason why, there's a bunch of different ways we could be making a lot more money, which is exactly what I'm assuming a lot of people might surmise, which is pare down and like make more content, which is, but that's not the goal. The goal is to have this community that creates these amazing things. And we're so much closer to getting there. But I think this also kind of leads into like where we are right here, right now, with even me personally, right? We started changing things, right? So we started changing things in Dope or Nope, right? We started doing different things like Dope Week and going to stores, and we started trying to change a decent amount to see like how we can invigorate our passion again. And at that time, I'd been having so much fun with this Overkill character and Megadesk over on my personal channel, and it gave me so much awareness to really what I was missing on the Dope or Nope channel, of like what I really, really yearned for with this channel, of like a deeper connection to my audience, a deeper connection to what I'm creating so that people enjoyed it even more. I started to love YouTube again, but over on Dope or Nope, we were still making things that like just really pulled apart my love for making content. At the time when I started to check in with, okay, am I enjoying what I'm making? And if I'm not enjoying what I'm making, that's probably a huge reason of why I'm disconnected from my community, why we're not all having fun on camera, off camera, right? And so I didn't feel like we had a strong connection to our audience through Dope or Nope. I didn't feel like we were making things we cared about or that our audience cared about. And I personally overreacted to those fears. Now, to preface this next part to most people, the most common fear response is a phobic fear response, right? The most common fear response when someone's scared is to withdraw, is to run away, is to avoid, is denial, right? That's not how I personally operate. And I think that's why it's like, for some people, it's very hard to understand, like, what the heck is he doing over there? This guy's always in a midlife crisis. But like if I could explain to you how my brain works, this is something I think might explain a lot, right? So my natural response to fear is counterphobic. In other words, I attack it, I try to destroy it, I remove it, I engage it, I fight it, and I try to control it. This on the outside is what looks like I'm always in that like midlife crisis, because that's what my fear response looks like. I've been spending a lot of time in prayer, and I feel like God gave me some awareness recently about this whole thing and what what this says about my behavioral patterns and how I engage with fear. And that's why I'm here today apologizing to you guys for it, is because regardless of phobic, counterphobic, or whatever kind of fear response I had to not making great things, I should have used fear as information and not motivation for change. I should have used it as information to reflect on and then to use to guide me through a much slower process of change. That's something that was a big lesson for me that I took away from this entire scenario, and I was 100% wrong. And I think like that would have been the most appropriate response to fears, right? Not to run and hide from it, but not to attack it and engage, right? So I'm not saying my fear response was an appropriate one by any measure. I'm just saying it's different, right? For that, I'm really sorry. And I still feel very fortunate to have learned this lesson, to have an audience that spoke up, that communicated, that helped me understand that I needed to look a little bit deeper inside myself and inside my own behavior. Does that mean I won't ever cancel things in the future? Absolutely not. That's the nature of creative projects. That's the nature of things, as they come to an end. Looking back, is that why I canceled everything in the past? Absolutely not. Like, for instance, Battle Universe wasn't a counterphobic or a phobic response. That was a calculated response to ensure that we could save jobs, right? This overkill transition was definitely a fear response, and I will 100% take ownership for that. But I think it's important to note that we made as many Dope or Nope episodes as there are episodes of Friends. Let that sink in for you a second.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right?
Wow.
Almost the exact same amount of episodes as Friends made. We did it in 2.5 years. Friends did it in 9 years, maybe 10. And so that kind of showcases to you how burnout works with a creator. Why often creators need new change, need evolving things. But it's not a surprise why we're looking for something new and exciting. It's not a surprise why we've been burned out. But that being said, it's still not an excuse for not bringing you guys in on the process and having you guys come into this change with us. Pat, you were talking to me earlier about some of this stuff, about like how this kind of change should be like a give and take.
Yeah, it's a two-way street. You know, like this, a lot of the times you watch a YouTube video and you think, oh, this is just this person making this thing and I get to watch it. And that's just not how we treat High Five Studios. This is something that we haven't done a great job at, but we're trying to do a better job at, is making this a two-way street. If we enjoy making something and you guys hate it, then that's not going to work. And vice versa. If you guys love something and we absolutely despise it, then we're not going to make it because we're going to get burnt out so fast and the content's not going to be good. This has to be a two-way street, and we're going to get there sooner rather than later. There's a middle ground that we can find that we're going to love making those videos and you guys are going to love watching it. We just haven't found it yet, you know, and that's where you guys are going to help a lot, because we were having a pretty good time, I think, over the last few weeks, and you guys weren't there. And that's fine, because now we hear what you're saying, and that wasn't a two-way street. We were going down a one-way road. And so now we know how to adjust and get back on that two-way street.
So what does that mean? What does that mean? Where are we here? You've watched all the way through this long video and we haven't even told you what we're gonna do. So here's what I think we should do, but I'm opening it up to conversation with Pat and Tanner, and I'm opening up to conversation with you guys, the audience, right? What I think is that Dope or Nope doesn't go away. I think we don't remove the beautiful colors that we all loved, pink and blue. I think we don't change the channel name, and I think we shouldn't stop Dope or Nope, right? I don't think we should rename the channel. I think there are a lot of comments that suggested, why don't you just make a new channel called Overkill instead of changing this one? And I was reading these comments and I was like, see, this is why I should have asked people beforehand, because that's a better idea. And so, like, honestly, that's probably what I'll do. I can't promise that we'll upload super frequently, but if you're one of the 1% on this channel that liked Overkill stuff, link in the description. And Tanner, I know you also had an idea that excited you about starting an Underkill channel just to mess with the Overkill channel.
Yeah, I might just make like an Underkill channel and just legit prank him. Like, they'll all be like videos under like 3 or 4 minutes, you know? And then it's just me, like they're not going to be edited hardly at all. And it's just going to be me doing dumb stuff that I think will just trigger him. Yeah. Maybe they'll even be short. Maybe I'll do like 30-second videos, just like, or it'll just look like it's from Cloverfield, you know?
Just vines.
Terrible.
Yeah, but
I still love that character, to be honest. So
yeah, it's still fun. I'm still gonna love that. People over on my personal channel still love the Overkill character. Obviously, you guys don't, and that's why we're gonna take that away. We're gonna take that away. Overkill actually really overkilled it, so I guess he did his job. But I think like
this wasn't written, dude. I swear. Like, we didn't plan this change just to have the character do this.
Literally, the Overkill character is an alter ego I have because I have counterphobic responses. That's deep inside my head.
So this is the deepest YouTube channel of all time.
But a metaphorical YouTube channel.
Yeah, I think, to go back to what we want this channel to be, I think it's important right now to return to a format that you guys love, and with some added changes that will allow us to love it again. I think we still stand by not buying things we intend to throw away, and you guys have also, again, given us some really great ideas down in the comments below of like, when we inevitably do buy things that we don't want, I think it would be a great idea, again, taken directly from a comment that said, why don't you guys just do a mystery box giveaway at the end of every video full of the stuff you guys aren't gonna keep? I love that. I think we should do that at the end of every video of like, hey, these are the things we're not keeping. It's in a box, selling it for 99 cents to whoever gets it first. You know what I mean? I think that's awesome. We don't want to put things into a landfill, and I think that's a win-win. I also think that we still definitely want to do list-based videos. We have a big, long list of list-based videos that are classic Dope or Nope that we actually wanted to continue to do. There's a lot there, but I also think we still want to keep the new heart of it, which is buying things together and not pretending to buy it and then opening it up in the same video so that we can like make content faster for you guys.
Well, and just to give some clarity on that too, a lot of you guys don't know like the behind the scenes on how like some of our channels work. So for the longest time, I would be buying the products and neither Matt or Tanner knew what I was buying until the day we were shooting. And then they would look at it and they would try to react to it. And so you're asking someone to connect to something that they haven't ever connected to before. And it's really, really tough. And I think that's what lost kind of some of the magic with all three of us, because I don't like buying, like, this is going to sound weird. I don't like buying Christmas gifts for random people if I don't really know what they want. And that's what it felt like with you two. Is like I don't know what these guys are going to enjoy. Like, yeah, exactly. And I know you guys were probably had the same reaction of like, I wouldn't have really enjoyed this product. I would have chosen something different. And so like, that's how it used to work. And with this Overkill change, it was really all three of us sitting down and figuring out what we want to do together and looking at these products together and like figuring out what we want in the videos all together, not just one of us or two of us or whatever. And using that like thought process for writing, but going back to like Dope or Nope style content is kind of like, I think the push we're going for here.
And I think like the last thing is the old set we don't even have anymore. But I will say, personally, we shot some videos. I'm not sure if we'll upload it because it's Overkill style, but these videos is where Tanner and I sat in those mega chairs, those mega comfy reclining chairs, and we just kind of reviewed some products with the table in front of us. And it was kind of Dope or Nopey, but it was also more relaxed and more comfortable than like the Rhett and Link type thing where it's a more formal show. You know what I mean? Like, not to knock those guys are hilarious. They're funny. I love it. I don't think that format really works for Dope or Nope like we anticipated months and months ago. So we want to keep it a little bit more loose, a little bit more like, let's see what we find. But I think we have a lot of great ideas. And so I don't think right now, at least right now, we'll probably bring that set back, but we will probably turn all those lights in that green mega desk room to like pink and blue and have some fun in there, you know? But I'm also really open to your guys' ideas of like how we might make this fun, how we might make it more engaging for you guys. So that I really appreciate you guys sticking around and hearing that out. But I also wanted to say like a final thing about community. Yes, I was wrong. Yes, I was wrong to like pull the rug out from under you guys. Yes, I was wrong to like come up behind you and go boo, you know, and scare the crap out of you, right? I was wrong. But I also think that some people in this community need to take responsibility for their behavior too in their response to it. So it's like, I kind of want to bring up this analogy of like what I just said of like coming up behind someone and saying boo. If you're the type of person that turns around and you're like, oh my gosh, you scared me. That actually scared me. Please don't do that again. That's okay. That's a normal response. But if you're the type of person that turned around and punched me in the face, again, that's not a healthy response to my unhealthy response. You know what I mean? Like, so I appreciate you holding me accountable, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to hold you guys accountable. All the toxic kind of energy in the comments where you feel entitled to make us do certain things, even if we're not going to have a fun time doing it. Like, this is a two-way street. And not only that, I think like Pat and Tanner, you guys were talking about, like, I think people often forget that we're people too. You know what I mean?
Imagine millions of people on the internet screaming at you, you know, pretty tragic. that gave me my first ever mental breakdown like 3 years ago. I was just getting nothing but hate comments about like and death threats and all this. I'm like,
oh dude, me too. Yeah, we've all gone through that. Yeah.
And also you got to understand, like, this isn't just, none of this has ever been just Matt's doing either, right? Like, this isn't like Matt came up to me and was like, this is happening right now. You know, like Matt called me and was like, hey, I'm not enjoying this. Are you enjoying this? I said no. He's like, what do you think about doing doing this. I said, that sounds fun. Like, this is collaborative. Like, this isn't one person's fault. This is something we all thought would be enjoyable and all felt like it would be fun. And we did have fun doing it. But we also all have to own the fact that, like, we didn't realize you guys might not like it, right?
Yeah.
And that's perfectly okay. That's why we're changing. But don't flame Matt thinking it's all him and that he's the one that wanted this change. And all, like, it's just not the case.
Well, if anything, you should do the exact opposite, because there's no other creators that I know of on this platform that really loop their audience in and figures out what they want. They just make stuff. And the fact that like Matt and High Five Studios is this open to making what you guys want as long as we enjoy it is something that's rare on this platform. And it shouldn't be taken as like, you know, advantage of, to be honest.
I appreciate that, guys. That means a lot. I think that, you know, all in all, like Tanner said, it sucks that we made some stuff and didn't clue in our audience, but I also think it's really important to note that we were having fun and we were making things that we really cared about. And I think there's still a place, not on this channel, but I think we can also make things that you guys care about. So let us know, give us some feedback down in the comments below. We'd really appreciate it. So last piece, guys, wanted to ask you a question right now, because probably a lot of you guys aren't aware, but Tanner right now is in Vegas, right? He's in Vegas. He's got a house in Vegas. He still plans on coming out here every week, shooting Dope or Nope, hanging out, making awesome stuff. But right now, Tanner is in a bit of a predicament, and we've been praying for him over there. And I think, yeah, Tanner, if you just want to, this is just
whatever you want to say,
hard,
Tanner.
dude.
Let me just get it up, the whole thing out there. Haley has COVID. My girlfriend has COVID, and I live with her. Luckily for me, I was in California when she interacted with a person who had COVID and when she officially got it, right? So I didn't bring it to anyone, which is thank goodness, right? Mm-hmm. But and I came back and I tested negative, so I'm still fine. That being said, I do have to take care of her, and she's been having an extremely difficult time. Like, Haley is like super strong, and so she'll downplay everything. But it's been really difficult, and we had some scares, honestly. Like, we almost had to go to the ER, and I hate that, and I don't like being scared with this stuff. And I am, to be honest with you, I'm absolutely frightened, and it brings out some of the worst in me. So I'm trying to work on that, but I'm gonna be here at least another week and a half or so. Could be sooner than that.
Could be later than that.
Sooner than that. Could be later than that, though.
Yeah, probably will be.
I also have to avoid getting it for the next week and a half as well, which has been a struggle because I have to feed her. I have to like make sure she's like taking her medicine and that she's like okay. And it's really, really difficult. So I'm really trying to balance that. I can't go to California for the next 2 weeks. I think legally.
Minimum of the next 2 weeks. And then after these 2 weeks, Lord willing, Haley is totally fine and she has a full recovery. You still have to take a test, wait to get those results, and you could test positive. And then another 14 days.
This could be a much longer process. Absolutely.
Could be. I'm hoping it won't. I'm being super safe. Like, I literally haven't even hugged my girlfriend in like a week. So it's been pretty tragic, and I can barely speak to her. But I'm doing that because I do want to be back, and I do enjoy making content. And even though I am traveling so far, there hasn't been one single week. I've been doing it for over a month and a half now. It hasn't been one single week where I feel like I've regretted anything. Like, I genuinely enjoy doing this, and it makes me want to start bringing my own content back and like start streaming and doing all this stuff too. Because I'm like, I'm feeling less burnt out. I'm feeling less stressed out, and I'm finding my purpose in why I'm making all this stuff and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And honestly, I'm going absolutely bonkers. I haven't let this happen. So yeah, I really want to be back there. So yeah, we wanted to open up to you guys. Are you guys cool with, if you guys want, I can always throw like little bits in the beginning of videos being like 10 seconds, like, hey, I'm still here, you know? But are you guys cool if like Matt, Pat, Woods shoots some stuff? Because they're all there, and they're, I believe, all negative. So they're all able to come together and make some great stuff. But we want to give you guys that choice, you know?
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to mention here is that while there's not much we can do from afar to aid Tanner and Haley, we'll jump at any opportunity that we have to do so. I definitely mean that, and I know Tanner knows that I mean that. I think it's also, you know, from an emotional standpoint too, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Tanner, but I feel like if we can continue to shoot, even though it wouldn't be as fun without my boy, if we can continue to shoot, I feel like that'll personally unload a lot of pressure off of Tanner.
Yeah, absolutely, actually.
Because I feel like you'd be like, everything's waiting on me to come back right now.
Yeah, true, actually.
And it's more than just like my livelihood doesn't just rely on Dope or Nope, but like a lot of people's does, you know? And that brings me more stress than anything, but also I also don't like holding people up as well. You ever get honked out at a red light? That's like a nightmare for me. So I would prefer not to live that for the next few weeks. But I also understand if you guys are like, you know, like a little bit like pent up from the whole last thing. I totally get it too. So
yeah. So let us know if we plan on coming back into the studio next Wednesday. Me, Pat, Woods, and maybe Sam shooting some Dope or Nope episodes where we find products, we unbox them, and hopefully we can start uploading again in a couple of weeks. But if you're like, no, you know what? I don't want any content. Dope or Nope's not Dope or Nope without Tanner. We'll possibly wait, but I want to make sure that we're doing the best thing that we can to support Tanner, even if it's just emotionally, because like I said, I don't want to be a friend where I'm just like waiting on Tanner to like get better when he's like trying to take care of his business. You know what I mean? So keep all that in mind, but I want to bring you in on that process. I wanted to talk to you guys about that. So that's our plan. Let us know. Like I guess, yeah, just let us know if that's really something that you don't want. Because otherwise we'll probably move forward with that. But I think that's all we have to talk about. I know that was a lot. I appreciate for all you guys that stay to the end. I appreciate you more than you know. And I do know 2021 is going to be a new year for High Five. I know we've had some tremendous growth. I know we've got some crazy projects that I cannot wait for. And I do know Dope or Nope has some life in her bones yet. I do know it. And so we're going to have a lot of fun.
Man, that's awesome.
We're going to have a lot of fun. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.
Peace.